Hello and welcome into another episode of RipNRiff here on the RipNRiff YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook network. It is episode 2 of season 2. Here we are at Mr. Jared Moore over there. I'm at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Jared, it's good to be back in the swing of things here at one of the more underrated times of the year in sports.
Yeah, the weather's starting to get nicer outside now that the winter's just about ready to come to an end. We were just talking about before we came on. You have Selection Sunday this weekend, so the March Madness is right around the corner. Spring training baseball. Hope springs eternal, unless you're a Yankee fan, and Garrett Cole might need Tommy John surgery, but we won't talk about that on this show. The baseball and the hockey playoffs are literally coming. They're coming up next month, so good time of year to be a sports fan.
Yeah, you got, like you said, you got both basketball and NBA hockey playoffs coming up. And this week, so NFL free agency, which we're going to get into shortly before we start ripping some football packs here today. And last week was the NHL trade deadline. Now, I'd love to talk to Jared about what the Devils did at the deadline, but I think we have to address the way the previous RipNRiff ended with a power outage. Now, Jared and I in the past would record and post these things and last week was the first time going live. So normally a power outage, like, all right, fine, we'll pick it up and record it and I'll slap it together. And here that Jared was gone and he apparently was going to guess the right answer. He had it.
Yeah, so we're obviously pulling back the curtain a little bit here. So we've gotten a lot of rain in the New York, New Jersey area, and because we've gotten a lot of rain, the ground's saturated, tree branches tend to fall on power lines, and the power got knocked out for about 2 hours. But as Adam was going through the entire setup, I was literally going to jokingly ask for my first question out of the 5, is it Alonzo Mourning? And it turns out I would have been right. It was Alonzo Mourning. I mean, the only thing I can compare this to is if you've ever seen like the old Family Guy episode where Peter was on Wheel of Fortune and with none of the letters on the board, guess Alex Karras and Webster. Like, this was my Alex Karras and Webster moment, and I was denied of it.
You know what it was almost like? Like, do you remember, and Mets fans maybe stop listening for a few seconds here, remember that Endy Chavez catch in Game 7 of the NLCS was like 2007 or whatever it was? It was
one of the great catches of all time.
But most people will never remember because the Cardinals went on to win. So it's like one of those forgotten things. And that's kind of like you. Like, it would have been an amazing thing, but it just gets lost to time.
Yeah, I think Alanis Morissette wrote a song about this once. It was called Ironic. It's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife.
That's one way to put it for sure. Now, we're going to get into NFL free agency in a minute, but let's tell you what we're going to open up today. And I think we're going all football for free agency. I got a pack of 2021 Optic Donruss here, exclusive rated rookies, green velocity parallels. Of course, the rookies from that year, Trevor Lawrence, which this week we talked about, they talked about if it was the worst quarterback class of all time. We'll see. But they also Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle. Also going to take it back to 1989. Hopefully pull a Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, or Derek Thomas rookie. Would not be the first Deion Sanders rookie pulled on this show. And then, Jared, what do you got today?
So I'm going with 2012 Panini Score packs. I actually have 4 packs in total. I'm just going to do 2 today. But yeah, that's one of the great quarterback classes in recent years. That's the Andrew Luck, RG3, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson year. And there's obviously some pretty good rookies in that year aside from them as well. So I wanted to start working in some more of the early 2010s, late 2000s packs of football cards so we could really remember some guys, especially in this era of fantasy football with, us playing fantasy football now for the better part of 20 years, 25 years. So figure this would be a good way to do that.
Yeah, why not? Listen, it gives us a chance to talk about, some of the free agents that have a lot of the movement that's happened this week here. And let's take a look at some of these here. And I know you were chomping at the bit to talk a little bit about Saquon Barkley going down I-95 to Saquon.
It's
Saquon. He's gone now.
Why are you saying Saquon?
I don't know. Just because I want to be
yeah, you see some of the big moves that have happened there. Obviously, we're recording this minutes after the Chargers cut Mike Williams as well. So he's going to be hitting the open market. Kind of a rough deal for him that all these teams already spent all this money and there's going to be nothing left for him. Yeah, I did want to talk about Saquon a little bit, just because, like, as a Giant fan, like, I'm bummed, but like, it's also not unexpected with how they've been approaching everything the last couple of years. When you remember that Joe Shane and Brian Dable, obviously they come from Buffalo, they don't really believe in paying the running backs market rate in terms of the money. I'm not going to pull a Tiki Barber and say that Saquon Barkley is dead to me. I think that's a little extreme and a little clickbaity by our old friend Tiki there. But yeah, obviously I'm disappointed. Like, and of course, of all the teams for him to go to, he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a stone's throw from Penn State where he went to college. So it kind of is what it is. I mean, if I were the Eagles, I probably would have spent that money on, I don't know, a linebacker instead of, a luxury item like Saquon Barkley, but that's neither here nor there.
And they fill the void there with Devin Singletary staying true to the not paying big bucks for a running back, 3 years, $16.5 million.
Yeah, instead of paying a really good running back, let's get somebody who's just okay.
We'll see. I mean, he in the second half in Houston of the season last year, he played much better. We'll see if maybe he could kind of pick up where he left off there. I mean, whoever the Giants are going to have a quarterback is not C.J. Stroud, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Drew Lock era. That'll be a thrill once that comes to fruition. I did like the Brian Burns move though.
That was a good move,
and not just because, hey, shout out to Brian Burns, our old buddy there, but no, the talented Brian Burns, the one who's really good at football. And to get him for a second and a fifth round pick, like I'm an old school football fan. I believe in building through the trenches.
Same.
I guess that's like the whole Parcells, Belichick, whatever in me. So adding him to a defensive line that has Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence, I'm assuming the Giants they're going to invest in the offensive line as well. They signed John Runyon Jr., which it's pretty funny that since John Runyon Sr. Gave the Giants fits for however many years now. They have his son. But yeah, you build up on the offensive and the defensive line, and then you go from there.
And speaking of the trenches, the one move that and I know it's not like, it's a quarterback or running back receiver, but Christian Wilkins going to the Raiders. He gets to be on the same line with Max Crosby. Wow.
Ooh, baby. I have both of them in our dynasty league, by the way.
And who'd they draft last year with their first round pick? It was a defensive edge rusher. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't think of his
name. That D line is going to be nasty in the AFC West. Now, my Jets, I know Aaron Rodgers could be an RFK Jr. running mate, and that's a whole other thing, but whatever.
We got to talk about that at some point.
I was just happy that they addressed the offensive line with the two moves they made, one of them today. And one of the biggest problems the Jets have had the last 2 years is like, man, if they had a competent backup quarterback, maybe they could have weathered the storm a little bit better. And that's exactly what Tyrod Taylor is. So,
Tyrod Taylor was the Giants' best quarterback last year, which isn't saying a whole lot, but the offense actually functioned when Tyrod Taylor was in there the last few weeks. Yeah,
for sure. And we'll see what happens. I don't think Rodgers is going to run for president, but I mean, what's annoying about this whole entire thing is, going into, and we all know the story, going into last year, everyone's like, oh, if the Jets just had a quarterback, they'd be a really good team. And then we got 4 plays of that, and then he's done for the year. And now it's like we're all the Rodgers antics that we were worried about with him coming to New York. It's like, oh, we got here we go. So hopefully this
not just that. It's been dialed up to 11.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers, the hypocrite and fraud he is, comes out at the end of last season and is basically like saying, oh, there's too many distractions, blah 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 blah. And it's the whole we're all trying to find the guy who did this meme, the hot dog guy from I Think You Should Leave. And now you have this coming out where which he hasn't refuted. Like, Aaron Rodgers is very happy with free agency underway of, just RFK Jr. saying, oh yeah, we've vetted Aaron Rodgers to be the vice president potential candidate, because that's what Aaron Rodgers does, man. People that didn't pay attention to him for 5 minutes, so he's got to get his name back. And I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. Like,
I'll say 2 things on this.
I don't know how you root for him as a Jet fan.
I want to see them win in my lifetime. Now I'll say two things about this. Once, if all these distractions are fine on March 13th, as long as come training camp, it's all back to back, all football, fine, whatever. Do what you want in the off season, like that's fine. But yeah, I'd like to.
That's the other thing. It's not like he's going to be Trump or Biden's running mate. It's the fringe third candidate who's going to get 1% of the vote.
Yeah, now, to bring it full circle from the discussion we had before we came on the air, I did think he did a great job as Jeopardy host. Like, if all else fails, like, I would not mind. Like, I thought he really did a good job as the host when he got his chance for that week. So maybe in this future one day.
I have nothing else to add to this.
I think it's time to get a pack rip in here. It's been we talked some free agency. We could talk about guys that come out. I've got this 2021 Optic Donruss, but I want to see if we get an Andrew Luck rookie card. So why don't you lead us off here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping. I mean, it turns out the best quarterback of that rookie class, the two best quarterbacks were probably Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins. So
and here we are, still relevant.
Yeah, so still relevant. But we start with a player who really good player in his heyday, very short career. But a key member of one of the Giants' Super Bowl championship teams, Hakeem Nicks.
Yeah, he was a good, like, you need to get the ball to somebody big. He'd go and get it. He was, while he was here, he was good. Wasn't long, but it was good while he was here.
And he had that huge catch right before the end of the half in the Green Bay game in the divisional round of the playoffs as well. So one of the all-time great Jets, Jonathan Vilma.
Yep, still now doing games for Fox on Sundays, along with Kenny Albert. Very, very good linebacker. Always enjoyed him being there. And by the way, you mentioned the Packers. I love the Josh Jacobs edition. I think that is a beautiful plug right into that offense. It's going to be fun to watch Green Bay this year.
I don't know. I thought it was a little weird. I think I'm higher on Aaron Jones than most people, so I'm not sure it's enough of an upgrade where it's worth it. And it's also weird that, like, the Packers historically don't spend a lot of money in free agency, and the one time they do is on a running back.
Yeah. I'm sure Rodgers was laughing about that one.
Yeah, I'm sure Rodgers was thrilled all those years he was in Green Bay begging for them to spend money. One of the best linebackers of his era. I don't recall if he was in the Hall of Fame class that just got announced or if he is a finalist, but we got Patrick Willis from your San Francisco 49ers.
I mean, you talk about everything you want a middle linebacker to be. There it is. And yes, he is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, so he was in that class that just got announced. Yeah, so it just shows how closely that sports guy me pays attention to it. Adrian Claiborne from your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former first-round draft pick. Nice little career, defensive end.
Yeah, he was a situational pass rusher towards the end, but he still did his job.
We have Sidney Rice from your Seattle Seahawks. Love those Seahawks jerseys that they wore in the
Matt Hasselbeck era.
Yeah, the Matt Hasselbeck era.
Sean Alexander. Yeah, and Sidney Rice was an exciting player. He had his health issues, but staying on the field. But when he played, he was good.
And how about this? So I literally just mentioned this is one of the rookie cards I wanted, and here it is. Kirk Cousins from the then Washington Redskins.
There we go. So taking the same year as RG3, and Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta this in free agency. They gave him a big deal. How do we feel about the fit with Cousins in Atlanta? One of the big frustrations there has been Kyle Pitts hasn't been used properly. Drake London kind of got into the mix a bit last year. Bijan wasn't there. Now you got Kirk there.
I mean, Kirk's always been a really good quarterback. His whole bugaboo has been the fact that he can't win a big game. And, I mean, they're going to probably win the division because it's not a very strong division. But in terms of, like, fantasy outlook and whatnot, you got a potential stud at running back. Bijan was good last year. I think his upside was capped, obviously, with just frustrating usage. And you could say the same thing with Kyle Pitts as well. And Drake London looks like a potential stud wide receiver. It's just obviously Desmond Ridder throwing him the ball wasn't going to cut it, and neither was Taylor Heineke last year as well, right? Yeah, so. Not surprising that neither one was going to necessarily cut it there. So they're going to be an interesting team this year. I think they're going to win that division. I still don't think they're quite on the same tier as Philadelphia, San Francisco, Dallas,
Detroit.
But
they're in the mix. They're a playoff team, but they're probably a first, second round playoff team.
Yeah, like I would say they're probably like the 5th or 6th best team in the NFC at the moment.
Well, I mean, I listen. I mean, there was a void at quarterback. They have all the tools there. Decent line. Now let's see what actually happens down within Atlanta, because, like you said, it's a very winnable division. You know, I know Tampa played well this year, but maybe the division comes down to those two. We'll see. Maybe, Kirk Cousins not great on national TV. Maybe he hopes those Tampa games are not on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football.
Yep. And we finish this pack with one more rookie card, Michael Kendricks from the then Philadelphia Eagles.
There you go. All right, good pack right there. We got the Cousins rookie,
pack. And I like the design of these cards as well. They did a pretty good job with them.
It's very nice in its simplicity.
I agree, and I'm a very simple man. So.
Same here. Yeah. I like my sports cards. I like my starting lineups. I like my beer cold. Oh.
Got to bust out the box cutter to get into this other pack here, but we will have this open momentarily as I filibuster here. You can tell this is live, and we're not editing any of this out.
Listen, that's one thing. Those difficult pack opens when we're live now. It's not the same.
Yeah, and I forgot to pre-cut these packs as well. So what do you got there? Like a little
it's like a mini pocket knife, and it's got a little built-in scissors, so that way if I got a stubborn pack, I could just I'll give it a little snip like that, and then we go.
All right. Well, we start off with one of the best running backs of his era, DeMarco Murray from the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, he was another one where he had like a 2-3-year window where he was just an absolute monster.
Yep, this was not his rookie card. His rookie year was 2011, but it's nice to see that. A player I don't really remember, and maybe you have a word or two on him, from your Oakland Raiders, Denarius Moore.
Demarius Moore, yeah, he was a okay receiver. I don't really remember him with the Raiders too much. It's weird to hear Oakland, but I mean that's what it was back then. I mean now it's Vegas. I think we're actually at the point where like people have gotten Oakland out of their like vocabulary when saying that team.
You would think so with Oakland, but I still want to say San Diego Chargers.
So do I. The Chargers, I always have to like pause to say make sure I say Los Angeles, even though
right. And it doesn't help that nobody in Los Angeles actually gives a crap about the Chargers. But yeah, former 5th round pick out of Tennessee. Fortunately, it has the info on the back of the card, so I'm
very nice.
Just, pulling that out on a whim and showing people how big my brain is.
Nice job.
Willis McGahee, here pictured with your Denver Broncos.
One of the more gruesome knee injuries of all time was when he was with Miami. Yeah.
But you know what? He had a long, productive NFL career afterwards. Yeah. So shout out to him. And it has all his stats on the back. And at the time this card came out, he had run for 7,300 yards, almost 60 touchdowns, caught 5 more touchdowns for 1,000 yards receiving. Like, he was a really good player in his day. Another player who was a really good player in his day, from the Atlanta Falcons, Michael Turner, the burner.
The burner, Michael Turner. Yeah. In today's NFL,
fantasy stud. He was obviously LaDainian Tomlinson's backup. He was Tomlinson's backup all those years in San Diego. And then he signs that big free agent deal with Atlanta. And that was one of the first big like fantasy, like I just know he's going to be a rock star in Atlanta. And he ran for almost 1,700 yards that first year.
It was gangbusters.
Yeah, he was awesome. So shout out to him. We have Philip Rivers from your San Diego Chargers.
I wonder if he's done or if he's got more kids coming.
I mean, he's got all the time in the world now, coaching high school football or whatever he's doing in North Carolina or Texas or wherever he's living in retirement.
I feel like he'd be a really good coach. I like playing for Phil Rivers.
Yep. Another player I don't really remember, David Hawthorne, linebacker from the Seattle Seahawks. A better look at those Seahawks uniforms of
the gray head to toe
era. Yeah, I just love that shade.
Me too.
That shade of that color that they use. So,
I mean, I think I speak for everybody. We want them to go back to like their old AFC West look with the like kind of royal blue with the bright silver and the green. Like, let's just go back to that. We all want it.
Yep, and we finished with a rookie card, a player who's still in the league, I believe, from your Detroit Lions, Riley Reif.
Riley Reif. There you go. So
not often you get an offensive lineman card, and it's funny how the rest of these cards. Let me pull up one so you can kind of see it. So like this one for Phil Rivers, it has all the stats on the back of it, like most cards traditionally do. Offensive lineman, I really don't for the most part. So his says selected first team All Big Ten performer, helped Iowa win 35 games over 4 seasons, 3-time South Dakota State wrestling champion in high school. So rather than how many pancakes he had, it's all right. Here's a couple fun facts of Riley Reef there. So shout out to him. Shout out to the big guys who make it all happen up front.
I will say, the more I look at those cards, I love the simplicity on the front. It works, but on the back, like just having that big logo of the team there, that's wasted space. I feel like they could have done another action shot of the player there, or that's a little bit of wasted space to me.
Yeah, even if it's just like a little blurry in the background, but you still have the action shot with like the logo in the corner where it's not as big. It would, but you know what? They've had a lot of practice designing these cards. I'm sure it's something they've improved on in this line over the years. So,
and I guess nobody's immune to the cost of printer ink. It's expensive for everybody. So there you go.
Unless you're Shaquille O'Neal and doing those commercials for Epsom, then I guess you get it for free.
Yeah, I would imagine he's got like an Epsom shipment every month, depending upon the frequency he needs. But we're getting off track here. Let's bring it to 2021. Donruss Optic here. Let's see if we get any of the guys that have moved in free agency this week.
Oh, I love the sound of that.
I always try to get it in front of the mic for that reason. This one opened up pretty easily, so no need for the pocket knife on this one. And I just dropped half the pack on the floor. Here we are.
Oh, no. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to bust out the old little penny sleeve. We're going to get that Kirk Cousins nice and protected. Just like the Falcons offensive line will hopefully protect Kirk Cousins this year.
All right, so I got an unfortunate sneak peek, but it is a good pack. So here we go. We're going to start off with Kenyon Drake, who kind of got forgotten about, over the last couple of years. There he is pictured as a Raider.
Love the glossy finish on those.
It's almost like a more modern version of the pack you just opened up. The look is very similar.
Yep.
All right, so we got, this is a good one. Not a rookie card, but Mr. Scary Terry himself, Mr. McLaurin.
Yeah, really good player. He's been a quietly underrated receiver for several years now in DC. So
I think
I'll be very curious to see what they do with the number 2 pick, which quarterback they wind up taking. I'm guessing they take Drake May, and hopefully, for his sake, Drake May is a stud and kind of brings out the best in all the pieces there. I say this as a football fan, not as a Giant fan.
Yeah, and let's look at James White here, running back for the Patriots.
Yeah, Super Bowl hero James White. And,
Super Bowl hero.
I believe recently retired, or maybe he retired a year ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, and just to go back to the Commanders for a minute, I'm excited to see how Austin Eckler fits in there.
Yeah, that's an interesting fit.
I mean, he's a running back that, he's one of those running backs that people didn't want to pay because he's got a lot of wear and tear. He's getting, a little bit older in age. But I mean, if you're a team like the Commanders, where you're probably going to bring in a rookie quarterback, you kind of want a guy like that is all reliable and is going to bail your rookie quarterback out of some situations. And we do have a rated rookie here, guy that did not pan out very well with the Panthers, Terrace Marshall Jr.
Yeah, it didn't really work out. The former LSU receiver, I want to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of thought he'd be a bigger deal than he was. By the way, with the Panthers, interesting trade yesterday with them getting Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, you get a professional wide receiver in there, him along with Adam Thielen. They're probably going to add another receiver at some point, most likely in the draft. So, I mean, look, Bryce Young had a really rough rookie season. How do you try to get him to improve on that? Well, you put the requisite pieces around him.
Yes, I mean, listen, it was not a good rookie year for Bryce Young, but you can't pin a lot of that on him. It's, again, we'll see what happens year 2. Now, a stalwart of one of my dynasty teams that at some point I'm going to probably have to say goodbye to, DeForest Buckner, who is one of the better defensive tackles of the last 10 years. And if you play an IDP league, I don't got to tell you what this guy, could give you pretty much every other week, gives you monster performances. See what the Colts do.
Really nice. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say they re-signed Michael Pittman. Good deal there. 3 years, $70 million. Anthony Richardson year 2, really year 1 for him. Missed the whole year, so we'll see.
Yeah, good player.
Speaking of good receivers, Tyler Lockett. Speaking of old reliable receivers.
Reliable. Yeah. your classic PPR machine. I mean, he'll just catch his whatever he catches per year, 65, 70 balls for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns, and you know what you're going to get out of him.
And the thing about him was, like, you know, sometimes when a quarterback like Russell Wilson leaves, you worry about, and he used to throw to Lockett a lot. Like, how is it going to affect Lockett? No, Lockett was just fine. Mr. Matt Ryan speaking. We had Vilma, who was in the booth for Fox games. Now you got Matt Ryan doing the games for CBS there. Insert 28-3 joke here.
We need broadcaster cards. I want a Kevin Harlan card.
Well, you know what's funny is this set of that we're going to open up next, the 89 Pro set, they do have broadcaster cards in there. So we'll
do
see.
they really? Oh, that's
Yes.
interesting. So you
Like
might get
Al
like Madden and
Michaels.
Summerall.
Yeah, very possible.
Nice.
We've got Cortland Sutton here. We'll see how things differ in Denver this year with Russell Wilson gone, but still had a decent year despite everything that went on.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton might be the Magic Johnson I'm not going to be here meme. Like, they already traded Jerry Jeudy. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn around and traded Cortland Sutton as well. And that just looks like a full-on rebuild right now, because I don't think the Broncos did a whole lot in free agency, at least in terms of like the offensive skill position guys. And like, as of right now, like, I know they have I think they picked 12th in the NFL draft, but as of right now, it looks like what's his face? The kid who went to Jarrett Stidham, the kid who went to Auburn. It looks like he's going to be the week 1 starting quarterback, which that's certainly a choice.
I mean, like, part of me looks at that situation and it's like, all right, you know, like, it's still Kansas City still reigns supreme in that division. Who knows what the Chargers are going to be this year with Jim Harbaugh? You know, the Raiders, we talked about adding Christian Wilkins. That defense is going to be nasty. I know Sean Payton's not a spring chicken, but maybe this strategy here is like, we're not competing this year anyway. Maybe they're trying to look at
100%. They got to build for the future,
line,
especially after they traded so many picks to get first to get Russell Wilson and then to get Sean Payton. So they kind of need to just restock the cupboard. And
if that's the plan, then a guy like Jarrett Stidham's fine to get you through 17 games, hopefully, no problem. So we'll see. Shout out to Andrew Cooper at Coupe Fiasco. TJ Hawkinson here.
Yeah, tight end whisperer right there, and that's certainly one he has whispered about from time to time.
And went to Minnesota and just did just fine after the trade. Now we got one rookie coming, another rookie here, but not a crazy desirable one. Still time for him to turn things around, but probably not Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully for his sake he turns things around, but kind of a disappointing year just in general. And
now DeAndre Swift in the backfield.
Yeah, and they went out and that they obviously added a running back, so it's not looking good there.
Now, speaking of disappointments, and again, you know, where the problems lie in Carolina, but Miles Sanders, there were a lot of people, including myself, that were like, what a great fit. It's going to be perfect. And then we were starting Chuba Hubbard some weeks over Miles Sanders.
I will say they didn't really add anybody in free agency, at least at the running back position. I suppose they still could in the draft, but, you know, new coach. I still think Miles Sanders is the best running back on that team. So, yeah, I wouldn't sell all my shares of Miles Sanders stock just yet.
You heard it here first. Biggest bounce back candidate for Mr. Jared Moore is Miles Sanders. He guaranteed it. He already did it right here.
Yeah,
March 13th.
You get a $0 money back guarantee.
Take it to the bank. Now we close strong here. So this is one of these green velocity parallels here. Now this is a rookie we like, and it was somebody whose name I actually put on the screen earlier. So Jalen Waddle. I'm a big Jalen Waddle fan. Yeah, I can't stand the Dolphins, but I do like Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, he's a stud, and it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with the Dolphins in a couple of years when it comes time to pay all these guys, because they're already paying Tyreek right now. My guess is they probably just move on from Tyreek when that time comes. But you're kind of seeing it with the Bengals now a little bit, where they franchise tag T. Higgins, rightfully so, but now T. Higgins is happy and wants to trade because they haven't paid him long term. So, but they got a lot of mouths to feed there because they got to pay Joe Burrow, they got to pay Jamar Chase. So I could see a similar situation there in Miami where it's like, yeah, they're probably going to pay Tua even though he's not that great. Like, he's good, he's not great, and they're paying Tyreek Hill right now. So curious to see how that situation unfolds in a couple of years.
Jalen Waddle, 3,000-yard receiving seasons in his 3-year career, including 1,356 in 2022. So, you know, and no reason to think he's not going to eclipse 1,000 again. So That was a good pack right there. I'm happy to pull this guy. Got to get him in a penny sleeve as soon as I can. Now we got another football pack here. We said we're going to do some 89 Pro set. Let's go with the old wax here. Let's get that sound. And if this pack is a dud, I do have a backup pack on standby, some 91 Upper Deck NFL. So let's see what we got here. Okay. So it's not a broadcaster card, but they did a series of Super Bowl cards that year where they put like a biography on the back of each game or a recap with the logo. So there it is, Super Bowl I, the first World Championship game. You can see the AFL versus NFL. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Always cool when you go back to 1967. I'm sure the doggy would have a comment or two about that, about Lombardi and the Packers.
And the game being televised on two networks because both NBC and CBS had the rights to the AFL and NFL respectively, so they both got to televise the game. So here we got a pretty good cornerback in his day, Jerry Gray, looking like he's waiting for the snap there. It's a good shot. Love those Rams uniforms.
Yeah, classic look right there.
Let's see, Steve Brown from the Oilers wouldn't even throw the guy up. I mean, you got to throw those Oiler uniforms up every chance you get. It's like the 100%. Quebec Nordiques. Let's see here. You like punters? We got Jim Arnold. Yeah, this pack is not starting off so great. Let's see here. Let's see, Steve Jordan. Okay, we got one of the Hogs, one of the better offensive linemen of the 1980s, Joe Jacoby, one of the best tackles of that era. Big Hog.
There you go. Shout out to the Hogs. Shout out to the offensive lineman, the big uglies, as we call him.
Hall of Fame wide receiver and one of the better ones of his era, Tim Brown.
Very nice. Yeah, Tim Brown. That's not a Tim Brown rookie, right? What was his rookie year? Like 85, 86,
yeah, it was a few years before that. Yeah, he played Notre Dame. He was drafted first round 88, so it was the year before that. So this was his second year card. Let's see here. What else do we got? We got, the recently let go Ron Rivera, pictured here as a Chicago Bears linebacker.
Yeah, Ron Rivera. You think he gets another chance coaching in the league? He's one of those guys everybody seems to like, but everyone also seems to acknowledge he's not very good at his job.
I think he gets another chance if you have a franchise that's like, all right, we're just trying to get a Band-Aid for the next couple of years here to get, like, that's kind of like a guy. I don't think he's going to get an opportunity anywhere where he has a chance to actually win a ring at any point. So I think those days are behind him. Let's see here. We got, Brett Perriman, who is a good receiver for the Lions, pictured with the Saints there. Let's see, Lionel James. Just like the Oiler jerseys, got to show off the Buccaneer jerseys right there.
The old creamsicles. I like to see that.
Donald Igwabuke, I think I said that name. And we closed the pack here with one of the, he had quite the career, just like college, NFL, and just like tough guy to not like, Doug Flutie.
There you go. What team's he picture with there?
That is the old Patriots look right there.
Oh, yeah, the old Pat Patriot look.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, that's a good one right there. I mean, the decent pack. Don't love the pack. Yeah, I think we're just going to open up this upper deck pack quickly. Why not?
And then why not? We got nothing but time, my friend.
Plus, I love that sound when it comes across. It's great. So yeah, love the look of these cards. We'll go through these quickly here too. So another Buccaneers, Irvin Randall, pictured in the all white creamsicle look. Ricky Jackson, part of the famed Dome Patrol Saints linebacker group of the 80s and early 90s, one of the better ones. Shout out Mike Riker. Interesting character over the last couple of years, but a good running back in his day, Mr. Herschel Walker.
That's one way to describe him. Yes. Interesting character is a very interesting way of describing Herschel Walker.
We've learned a lot more about Herschel Walker than I ever thought or cared to learn about, of course, his career. But hey, good running back with the Vikings. They're part of one of the biggest trades in NFL history. Good action shot.
Maybe he'll be RFK's running mate when Aaron Rodgers has to decline because he has his day job.
Now, here's I got to say, this is a cool little like Easter egg moment. 2 Tim Browns in the span of like 2 minutes.
Okay, that's very random, but we like Tim Brown on this show, so it's always cool to pull another Tim Brown card.
And Junior Seau in the background there, you can see the 55 there. Yeah, I know you don't like when we pull the same, I can't say the name Shane Corson on the show without you getting mad. We got Anthony Miller from the Chargers, who was a solid receiver back then. Now this is a cool one card. Now, if Upper Deck used to do like the Collector's Choice series with like the hand drawn like cartoon. The Magic Man, Don Mikowski, pre-Brett Favre Packers quarterback.
How about that?
Joe. We got team MVP Albert Bentley from the Colts, a guy who played with Tim Brown, when he was with the Raiders, James Lofton. That's a good little shot there.
Yeah, that's a nice little card. It looks like he's being congratulated after catching a touchdown pass or something.
Let's see. We got Jim Jensen from the Dolphins, Dan Saliamua. Just wanted to say that name because I knew I could. And then let's see what we got here. Nobody. And then they will close the pack with this. And who is this? Steve DeBerg and Dan Marino embracing Joe Montana. If nothing says 80s or 90s like that look right there. Look at those shorts.
Yeah, pull that a little closer to the camera if you can. It's a little tough to see it, but yeah, that's certainly. Go. Oh yeah, it's not Zubaz pants. It's like Zubaz shorts. So it wasn't really picking up the design until until your camera refocused there, but. Yeah, that is certainly a nice late 80s look right there if I've ever seen one, early 90s.
That's got to be. They used to do like the quarterback challenge, like, around the Pro Bowl or after the season, like in Hawaii or somewhere sunny. That's got to be from that.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be from that. I wonder if in the outtakes of the cameras, the shots they didn't use, if they have the old big, the brick cell phone, like the old Zach Morris phone. I wonder if they have that.
Someone's agent is in the background on that for sure over there. Gotta be. I mean, yeah, this is Steve DeBerg and Dan Marino. Steve DeBerg, he played forever in the NFL, man. He was just like, he hung around, but I mean, he was still good up to the very end. But
yeah, so there we go. Remember when car phones were a thing?
I remember the first time I got to use a car phone, actually. I remember coming home from school and like my friend's mom was picking me up and she's like, I got to run to a store quick. Just call your mother and let her know it'll be a few minutes. And I was like, get the call from the car. Like, this is so cool. It's like kindergarten.
I know the kids today have no idea. My dad used to have one in his work truck, and we wanted to use it once to. I think he was taking us home. We wanted to use it to like order pizza or something. And he was like, "No, you can't do it if that. It's for work calls only." So we literally had to like drive home to place the phone call to order the pizza to then go back out to pick it up.
I mean, I remember we had a second landline in the house so my dad could work, but yeah, that was like a work only line. Like, no, that was just because that was back in the day. If you went online, like you tied up the phone line. So, yeah.
Yep.
All right, we've gotten to the point of the show. We're going to do the starting lineup figure 5. We always close things out here with a little bit of a guessing game. Jared's got 5 questions to figure out who we're trying to unbox today. Because it's football, we're keeping it all football. And that's all he gets. He just gets to know which sport, and he can ask a few questions from there. So without further ado, take it away.
Is it Alonzo Moore? No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to think of a football player that'd be a funny name to just throw out there, but no, I don't want to do that. Is this player in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
He sure is.
Sure is. All right. So the way you emphatically said that would suggest to me that this is a no doubt, no brainer, first ballot sort of guy.
Yeah, so far so good. Right church, right
pew. Did this player ever win a Super Bowl?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so that narrows it down a little bit. Was this player a quarterback?
No.
He's not a quarterback. So, all right, so that's a very key piece of information right there. So, Super Bowl champion, not a quarterback, but he is a Hall of Famer. Is it an offensive player?
No.
So it's a Hall of Fame Super Bowl champion defensive player. So you really have to kind of rack your brains going back that far for starting lineup era.
One question left. Use it wisely, my friend.
And this doesn't count as my guess, right?
No. You get to get 5 questions, then the guess.
Okay. Did this player at any point in his career play for the Dallas Cowboys?
No.
He did not. All right. So that
he had, I'll give you one more hint. He had a prominent career with 2 teams, and you would remember him for both, but he obviously only won the Super Bowl with 1 because he's got 1 ring.
All right, so
There it
defensive
is.
player, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, was
He
not on the
actually did play for a
Cowboys.
third team very, very briefly at the end for one season at the end of his career. I did forget about that. I'm just double
Not
checking
on
on Pro.
not on the Cowboys. Hall of Famer. Ooh, yeah, this is interesting. Because I asked the Cowboys question for a reason. I was thinking it was Dion for a second, but obviously it's not going to be him.
It's a good guess. It's a good way to try and narrow it down to who you're thinking, though.
Right. Now I'm trying to remember like the Super Bowl champions of. All right, I got to guess.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is it Reggie White?
The fuck out of here.
There we go.
Now, the reason I picked him is because the way free agency looks nowadays, with players kind of having, it's not the teams having to say, it's more the players. He was the first
big free agent
going from the Eagles to the Packers. So that's why I had him in there. I'm like, oh, it'd be perfect for a free agency episode. I'm like, maybe Jared gets it based on that, but you weren't even thinking that, but good for you, man.
I wasn't even thinking of it like that. No, I was the way my dumb brain works is starting lineups. I'm thinking players primarily played in the 90s, and from the criteria we narrow it down, it's like, all right, it's not going to be someone on the Cowboys. You know, I didn't think it was necessarily Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith probably would have been my other guess if I had thought about it. Him
who's
first.
In the pool.
Yeah, but did not quite think about him. I wasn't going with anyone on the Giants from the 90 team. So the Cowboys are ruled out. You know, the 49ers, and then it's like you keep going. And I didn't skip right ahead to the Broncos because when I asked the quarterback question, I was like, maybe it's Terrell Davis.
Or you could that's another guy that's in the pool as well.
But yeah, that's sort of how we settled on Reggie White there. So I'm very glad that I got that.
And I don't know why I cursed you out, because if you don't get it right, I don't get to open it. So I get to open it now. So I don't know why I was like, I apologize. So we got the card here. So we always like to look at that first. And I'm a big fan of when the pose matches the card. There he is getting ready to pass rush against his former team. Or actually looks like he's waiting out a run there. It's tough to match that exact pose, but not bad. There he is. Looks like he's about to do a old-fashioned swim move to go get to the quarterback. There he is.
You probably gave me too good a clue there with the primarily played on like two different teams that you would know. Yeah, that was too good a clue, because once you said that, I was able to narrow it down pretty
well. And then I realized the clue was wrong, because he retired for a year and then he came back and played for the Panthers for one season,
which I completely forgot about.
I forgot too until I looked on Pro Football Reference. Now he's going to be joining what we like to call our starting lineup studio audience. Now,
baby.
Last week, Alonzo Mourning got free, so he got out of the box. So I figured let's do like a Carolina sports thing here. So we got Kevin Green from the Carolina Panthers, rest in peace. Trevor Kidd, the 98 edition from the Carolina Hurricanes, who the Rangers are going to be neck and neck with down the stretch here in the Metro, but they gave themselves a little bit of distance last night. Now, there's no Carolina baseball team, so it's Braves country. But I don't have an Atlanta Brave. So the next best thing I could do is Fred McGriff on the Devil Rays. So there you go. So there's a Carolina sports shout out. We didn't show last week's first episode of the season. I went with the theme of my favorite four athletes of all time that have starting lineup figures, which there you go: Curtis Martin, Bernie Williams, Barry Sanders, and Brian Leach. So Reggie will be in the audience next week, and we'll see who'll be with him.
Nice. All right, and I'm officially now 2 for 2 on the season.
And if you're like, oh, you can't give him last week, no, I've got the text message proof, because like as I was trying to rap, I see him texting me, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to rap, and then I'm like,
the tweet definitely exists. The tweet exists. I literally said I was literally going to guess Alonzo Mourning.
Like I saw you call me, and I'm like, oh, it's probably to let me know the power's out, and then the first text I see is is it Alonzo Mourning? I'm like, oh, all right, there you go. But this was good. This was fun. We did a nice little NFL free agency here on this edition of Rip and Riff. And don't forget, you can always go back and watch the episode later on. Anybody that's watching on a replay, thank you so much. If you're watching live, shout out to you as well. Follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Rip and Riff, Facebook.com/Rip and Riff, YouTube channel Rip and Riff, where you're finding us now. And just a couple other things to throw out there. If you got poker content you like, Jared does great stuff over on YouTube at Jared Moore Poker. And well, he's saying that's great. And you see that devil's hat there.
Great's a little strong word there.
Adequate?
Adequate, yeah, sure. I certainly make adequate content.
So if you're not looking for the best poker content and you're just looking for something a couple of rungs below that, just adequate, just something to, that's where you want Jared's poker stuff.
If you're looking to be the next Phil Hellmuth, you should not watch my channel.
However,
if you're a weekend warrior who likes to watch random poker hands and watch me break them down, watch a fellow dumb guy break it down, I'm your man.
And you see that devil's hat there. You can catch his work at allaboutthejersey.com. Been an interesting week down in Newark for the past few days with the goalie trades and the deadline and all that fun stuff. We don't have to get into that here, but
thank goodness, because I don't want to talk anymore about it.
But if you do want to talk hockey, tomorrow, myself, Anthony Rivera, and Christopher Murray will be back live again. We'll do a trade. We'll put a bow on the trade deadline. We're going to talk about how the Thatcher Demko injury is going to affect the Pacific Division odds. I got to talk about the Minnesota Wild, too, because I think they're lurking. But, yeah, you can catch us tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for Total Hockey Now. But that'll do it for this edition of Rip and Riff. And we're going to be back with you next Wednesday, ripping more cards, ripping more packs. We'll see what we do next week. We did football this week. We'll see what happens next week. But for at Mr. Jared Moore on Twitter, I'm at Pucking Thoughts. We'll be back with you next Wednesday here on R&R on the Rip and Riff YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook network.